What's up, crew? Hope you're having a rad day. In this episode, I give you my 5 tips for improving your jumps. I'm Alan, and this is the MTB Alan channel. I'm Alan, this is the MTB Alan channel, and while my facial hair might be somewhat exceptional, I'm a pretty average rider. And it's only been recently that I've gained any kind of proficiency or confidence with my jumping. Definitely no Dylan Stark or Brandon Semenuk. But because things are pretty fresh for me right now, and I obviously still remember what things were like beforehand, I figured it's a perfect time to share with you 5 things that played a big part in my jump progression. Jump anatomy! Before we get to the tips, let's do a little bit of jump anatomy. So jumps come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. There's a lot of different parts of the jumps that we could name, but to keep things simple, let's agree on 3 major sections of any traditional jump. There's the lip, the gap, and the landing. Some would say that you've got a transition that leads up to the lip, but where the transition ends and the lip begins is up for debate, especially if you're talking about a small kicker that's pretty much all lip. So in order to keep it simple, we've got the lip, the gap, and the landing. So in order to demonstrate, let's step into the demo lab.
A little soda here. Zoom it in a little bit. Okay.
The lip is the part that gets you into the air. The gap is the space you gotta clear in order to get to the landing. And the landing, which is the best place to land. Obvious, yes, but if you land before it, you definitely know it. A tabletop doesn't actually have a gap, but there's still a space you gotta clear to get to the landing. Alright, let's get to the 5 tips. I'm gonna assume that you're already familiar with fundamentals like assuming the attack position, bike body separation, and pumping. If you're not, it's okay, you're still gonna get value out of this. Alright, tip number 1. Buck up! You're in the air, the front tire is dropping, you can feel your hips getting higher than your hands. Oh shit! It is one of the worst feelings, and all you can do is hope that things don't go totally wrong. It's probably the thing that beginner and intermediate jumpers fear the most, and it's a fear that can really hinder your progress. So that's why we're going to start with how to avoid getting bucked. From what I can tell, it's not rebound or the shape of the jump or whatever. It's pretty much where the rider is looking. You know that you should be looking further down the trail. It's a very fundamental skill. But on a jump, further down the trail actually means up into the air, over the gap, and to the landing. Sounds obvious, but I'm sure a lot of you will agree that your brain can totally stop working somewhere between the lip and the landing. I see a lot of beginner riders looking at the ground before they're even off the lip. This is actually pretty natural, but it'll put your body on a path which is at odds with your bike's natural motion. So if your bike is going up the jump and you're looking at the landing, your bike will be trying to follow the natural path, that arc up and over the gap into the landing, while your body will be trying to go in a straight path to the nice and safe ground. This difference in paths will mean that you will most likely put some forward pressure onto your handlebars. It may be a little bit of pressure, it may be a lot of pressure, it may be a lot of pressure, but it tends to happen at the worst possible moment. That moment when your front wheel has gotten into the air and your back wheel is still coming off the lip. And that one moment sets up the perfect conditions for that sickening forward rotation and you get bucked. Here's an example on the trail. You can see this rider is already looking at the ground before his front wheel is even off the lip. He gets away with it this time, but with more air, that forward rotation gets more and more dangerous. So how do you fix this? It's actually pretty simple. While you're headed up the lip, just look past the lip. You don't have to spot anything. It's actually kind of hard to spot something in midair, but Just look up past the lip, at least don't look down at the ground. And then wait until you're at least off the lip before you spot your landing. Here's an example of that. This rider's head is up a lot more and looking where the jump wants him to go. If you only make that one change, you're not necessarily going to get any more air, which I guess for a lot of us is actually a welcoming thought, but you will be more aligned with that natural path, and so you'll get bucked less. And if you're like me, feeling that difference is going to make you more confident and make you more willing to get more air. So let's talk about the bump. Leg work! If you're finding this useful or at least just fun, please like this video. It'll help other people like yourself find this video. If you want to keep getting rad episodes like this in your feed every Monday, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to show direct support, check out that applaud button. So as I learned from Jason Richardson, pumping on jumps is all about the legs, pretty much just down and up. But allow me to unpack the why. A lot of people will suggest using the bunny hop technique on jumps. And while there is some transference of skill, hitting jumps is a bit different. When you're doing a bunny hop, you're pumping with both your hands and feet. And that's because you need to set up to get the bike into that manualing position. On jumps, the lip actually gives you that position for free. Driving with both the legs and the arms off of the lip isn't bad in and of itself, but there are higher speeds involved and greater forces, so you need to have a greater amount of precision and make sure that your arms and legs are nicely synced up. If they're out of sync, things can go wrong. For us beginner and intermediate riders, it's best if we keep things simple and only pump with the legs. In any case, when you only pump with the legs, you're still getting into the rear and front suspension. So, drive with the legs, guide with the arms. And that actually brings us to the next tip. Don't sail, row. Even if you're not getting bucked anymore, you can still go dead sailor. Something goes wrong off the lip, you can't make corrections, you lock up, and you are totally at the mercy of physics. You've gone total dead sailor. The thing is you might actually be going dead sailor every time you leave the lip, you just don't realize it until something goes wrong. Well, the solution is to always keep the bike moving. And as I learned, again from Jason Richardson, a fundamental movement of the bike in the air is the row. Not Thoreau, like Henry David Thoreau. As your rear wheel is leaving the lip, start pulling the bars towards your hip. You don't have to totally hump the bar, it can be a pretty subtle movement, but as long as a little bit of that's happening, that's good enough. The key here is to not try to use your biceps to pull the handlebars to your chest. At that point, you're kind of at odds with your bike and you're going against the natural path. Pulling to the hips will actually get the bike to rotate. And then just remember to push the bars back out. And at that point, depending on what else you're doing, your rear wheel can actually come up higher and you can get a little bit more air. So when I'm learning new stuff, I try not to take on more than 3 things at a time. So let's move on to how we're gonna actually learn these things. Session! Most people will agree that sessioning jumps will help you progress your jumps. I would add to that when you're sessioning, work on one specific thing. So pick one of these 3 tips and just work on that for that session and wait until your next session to pick up the next tip. Of course, how long and how often you session will be totally personal, but concentrating on a single thing is going to be a lot more effective than trying to learn 3 things at once. But once you have a good feel for that, take it on a tour. Jump everything! Sessioning gives you the feel for a technique. In order to internalize that technique and make it just part of how you ride, try it on everything. Ride as many jumps as you can, different shapes and sizes, hit them at different speeds, and apply that technique. I mean, really, anything that looks like you could get the tiniest bit of air off of, use that technique on it. I mean, this tip could really just be have fun with it. So to sum up, keep your head up, remember to use your legs, row, don't sail, session, and then jump everything and have fun. So I hope you dug this and found it useful, or at least entertaining. If you want to show me direct support, check out that applaud button. Like this video so that other people like you will find it, and if you want more videos like this to show up in your feed, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you next week.